Okay, everybody. So this is our instructional video for Midland Online Academy for Monday, December 7th. By the way, this is the anniversary of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941 that started World War II. But that's not what we're teaching about today because we don't make it to World War II in this class. We are instead talking about a different war. So today you're going to work on the presidency of James Madison, who was president number 4. And you're going to be learning about the War of 1812, which happened while Madison was president. So if we look in here, our daily agenda says Monday I could summarize the causes and major events of the War of 1812. In parentheses, it says we're going to do the claiming victory from defeat, Google reading, and we're going to do digital interactive notebook notes. So click on the classwork tab. Of course, you've already no doubt found our attendance for today because that's how you're watching this video. And here's our Google form. And I don't care if you do the notes first or the Google form first. Doesn't matter to me. But I'm going to show you the Google form first. Okay. So that's here. It's got a link to the reading right there. It's got some pretty basic questions on the reading. Remember, if you don't know the answers, go back and look at the reading. It's not a test. You can go back and forth. There's no reason why anybody should ever get a failing grade on one of these reading assignments because the information you need is in the reading. A couple of the questions I ask you to kind of bridge the thought gap. So you have to take what's in the reading and think about it. But most of this stuff is just right out of the reading. Everybody should be passing these. Once you've done that, then you're going to want to open your digital interactive notebook, and we're going to open up to page 8, which looks like this. So we're going to need a picture of James Madison, years in office and party. He's a Democratic Republican. He's going to be in office from 1809 until 1817, so he gets 2 terms. And he is the same party as Jefferson. So when Jefferson leaves, Madison takes over. And today's notes are going to fill out the foreign policy and a question about Dolly Madison. So let's look at those notes. Instead of the slideshow today, I actually made this easy. I just took a screenshot of this part, okay? And I'm going to walk you through these notes real quick. So in 1812, we wind up in a second war with England. And so what England was doing is they decided we weren't independent anymore. England or Great Britain, they're interchangeable. So when the attendant says, what country did we go to war with? You want to pick Great Britain, by which we mean the same thing as England. They decided we weren't independent anymore. And since we weren't independent, they could kidnap our sailors to work on their ships. Obviously, America didn't take kindly to that, and so we go to war. By the way, little subplot here that Star won't ask about. The United States thought that while we're going to war with Great Britain anyway, we should try to invade and take over Canada. And as you'll notice, Canada is still an independent country, so that doesn't exactly go the way we want it to. Okay, so the first couple years of the war go really, really, really bad. To the point that the British soldiers march into Washington, D.C. President Madison is actually not in town at the time, but the First Lady, his wife, Dolly Madison, is. And as the British soldiers are coming in the front door of the White House and setting it on fire, she grabs a portrait of George Washington, the official portrait that he sat for as president. By the way, every one of our presidents do that. And if you go to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., you can go to the Presidential Portrait Gallery and you can see these paintings of all the presidents and most of the first ladies. If you're ever in D.C., it's pretty amazing. Anyway, Dolly Madison grabs this painting and heads out the back door, narrowly escapes being captured by the British. And really, she risked her life and her freedom to save that painting. Pretty remarkable. But then we start doing a little bit better. The British tried to take over Fort McHenry, which is in Baltimore, just across the National Harbor from Washington, D.C. And we win that battle. And there's an American newspaper reporter who's been captured by the British. His name is Francis Scott Key. And he has a front row seat from a British ship where he's being held prisoner, watching the British bomb Fort McHenry. And so he writes this poem set to an old beer drinking song called To Anacreon in Heaven, which all the British sailors knew because that's what sailors do. And he took that British sailor drinking song and he set new words to it. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous uh, fight over ramparts we watched was gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave? This is our national anthem, and it is inspired by this war, because one of the things the War of 1812 proves is, yes, we're a real country, and no, England can't take us back over. So that's a big deal. So we're actually going to wind up getting a tie in this war. We don't really win, neither does England. Both sides say they won. It's really a tie. But after the war is officially over, word hasn't gotten all the way to New Orleans. And a young Army colonel named Andrew Jackson has a group of renegade soldiers, not highly trained in the classical sense. He was taking these people anywhere he could get them, frontier pioneers, farmers, runaway prisoners, all kinds of people. And he fights a massively convincing battle and runs the British out of the city of New Orleans, even though he's greatly outnumbered. And he gets the nickname Old Hickory because he's tough like a big old hickory tree. And this turns Andrew Jackson into a superstar. Now, remember, in the 1800s, we didn't have television. We didn't have, recorded music. We didn't have movies. We didn't have the internet. And so your celebrities were either book writers, composers of classical music, famous preachers, or famous soldiers, right? That's how you got to be famous. And Andrew Jackson is going to become extremely famous after the Battle of New Orleans. And eventually that's going to lead him to become president. We'll talk about President Jackson after Christmas break. So these are the notes that you need to be putting here and here. We'll do domestic policy on Tuesday. But that is the whole thing. Questions, email me. Otherwise, look for a fresh video Tuesday. Talk to you guys later.